You know how you have those people in your life, you can kind of just sit down and it seems like you can talk about anything and everything because the trust and the dialogue is just right there. That certainly should be the case in all of our conversations when it comes to your money, right? You want somebody who you can trust and who you feel listens to you. So Kevin Fuerst happened to walk through our door this morning. He's of course with Fuerst Financial Group, and he came walking up on the set and I said, okay, Kevin, what's on your mind this morning? And you said, you know, I want to talk about why you need an advisor.
Yeah.
The name says it all, right?
Yeah,
an advisor.
I think so. And it helps, I think, if you have a third person to interact with the family. And part of what we were talking about, as our parents age, we really, it's really an interesting position the advisor gets in, because now he's making a switch from somebody that might be in their 80s or 90s, where they're more conservative, where their children are younger, so they're looking at it as maybe we should take more risk for more return, because you might need the money too for the care of the parent.
So I would love to see the definition in the Webster's Dictionary of risk, because the truth is everything is a risk.
It is.
There is a risk to be overly aggressive, and there is a risk, like the parable, to be underly assertive. Right? So you've got to kind of find that sweet spot for people.
You have to. And it's a dialogue that I think I have all the time with people, is really about risk. Or sometimes people call it fear. They fear, there's the fear of being left out, and there's also the fear of losing. And so what people want is to make 10 and 15% a year and have no risk.
Right.
Which is not reality. But that's what they want, and that's what they think people can do that are in the planning business, and it's not.
So, okay, wait, go. You were gonna continue with that sentence. They think that people who are in the planning business can guarantee that 10 to 15%.
Yeah, and no risk, because, and it doesn't happen a lot because I stress it so much. When it happens, I go back to the risk, and that is in times like we had last year, because last year was the worst year and the best year. And so you had to live through 2 cycles within 5 months of really bad and then 2 months of really good. And so people started thinking, oh, get me out of the market. I don't want the loss. And then when the market turned around, after the market turns around, of course, and the market's up 10% or more last year, then why didn't I get back in the market? And it's like, we're not timers. We can't see the future more than anybody else. And so that's where risk really is an assessment of a longer period of time than just 2 or 3 months. But we live that way. We want the return right now. So we want to put our money in the market. We want it to grow tomorrow. You want a phone call that says I'm up 10% the first month. That just doesn't happen.
You know, you have that phrase, you have to watch a thing to change a thing. Did I say it the right way?
Yep.
So everybody is different. When I was raising my kids, Laura Schlesinger was on the air on the radio, and she had this phrase that said, you can have it all, but not at the same time.
Right.
It really helped me as a stay-at-home mom to realize that your life is in stages. So kind of growing your money comes in stages, right? Because when you're raising your kids, they tend to take the bulk of it.
Yeah, it's true.
But to put so much into savings and deny their raising doesn't help you any, right?
Maybe.
But it comes to the individual. So when it comes to risk, you've got to know how much money is enough for you to be comfortable.
That's right.
And is it worth the headache and the worry if you're taking chances?
Well, and we have data and numbers now that go back as far as we want to go back and say, look, if you have 60% in stock and 40% in bonds, which is a balanced account, over time is the key. So most people don't hear that. You're going to gain anywhere from 5 to 10% over time. Over time could be 5 years, could be 1 year. It just depends on the circumstances and what we're going through. But over time, you will see and realize that type of return in general. Now, there's always anomalies that come along that can upset that. So somebody that has more risk than that and doesn't necessarily care about risk, either they have pensions or Social Security or other enough money they don't care about the risk, then they can take more risk. On the other side of the coin is you might have enough money you don't have to take the risk.
Right.
So
right.
if you've got
And if you've been building it over time,
right,
you can kind of be guaranteed to a degree
right,
of how it's going to go. When you said 40% in bonds, I don't have a lot of time left, but would some people be surprised to hear you say that? Do bonds sometimes get a bad rap?
I don't know if they do or not, but that's how you equate risk. So you have to have some in stocks, some in bonds. That's how most portfolios are put together. Now, if you don't have to have any bonds, you can do all stock.
Mm-hmm.
That goes back to the risk. So if your risk is moderate and you want a moderate return, you don't want a high return, then a moderate risk for you, 60-40, might be where you need to be. And that's a conversation you have. It's also, you have to go through a couple cycles to see how you feel.
Right.
So you can get through a cycle and it was a horrible cycle, and so you go back and say, okay, how did it feel for you? What were the emotions when you saw your accounts go up,
right,
when you saw them go down, and then go up again? Are you comfortable with that? And so if they're not, then you're watching it, so you got to change it because you're feeling uncomfortable.
It's like the old Charlie Brown thing. The psychiatrist is in. 5 cents, please. Yeah. You can find Kevin at Fuerst Financial over on Century Oaks Drive. We got him laughing. His website is growkeepleave.com. Phone number 899-8555 is the phone number. So since he was giggling, we'll keep the jokes continuing because it's our dad joke of the week today on a Tuesday. Our good friend Jason Wright is going to make you chuckle.
Your dad joke of the week, brought to you by West Yellowknife Trading Post.
Welcome back to this week's installment of the Dad Joke of the Week. Got a buddy of mine, kind of worried about him. He's addicted to brake fluid. Says he can stop anytime he wants. I stayed up all night to see where the sun went, and then it dawned on me. Thank you.
Jason, come on, that was bad, really bad. Anyway, for something good though, come to West Yellowknife in Dalton. You better get it when you see it at the knife.